Hola, hola, buenas noches a todos y todas. Creo que es una gran canción para empezar esta noche. Quiero que me pongan un puntito en el chat ahorita, si es que me escuchan y me ven súper bien. Un puntito, quiero ver un montón de puntitos. Quiero ver 326 puntitos en el chat, hermoso. Me ha encantado ver que hay tantas personas conocidas, nuevas, de todas partes de Latinoamérica. Por ahí vi que habían algunas personas de Paraguay. Yo viví, de hecho, en Paraguay un tiempo, así que le tengo mucho cariño a ese país. Asunción es un lugar increíble, los paraguayos son increíbles, así que feliz de que estén acá. Bueno, buenas noches con todos y todas. Yo soy Cristina, estoy demasiado feliz de estar acá con ustedes. Yo soy la CEO de Colectivo 23. Estoy segura, como dice esta última canción, que esta noche va a ser una noche de inspiración. Esto, de hecho, nosotros llamamos esto un shot de inspiración de nuestro amigo Nathan, que ahorita lo voy a introducir. Rápidamente quiero que me pongan un puntito en el chat, si es que es la primera vez que se suman a un evento o algo de Colectivo 23, a ver cuántas personas nuevas tenemos por ahí. De hecho, no estoy viendo los puntitos, sino veo las notificaciones, entonces con eso más o menos saco al ojo de cuántas personas estamos hablando. Perfecto. Bueno, ya como hay personas nuevas en este hermoso espacio, les quería contar rápidamente que Colectivo 23 es un hub para profesionales donde buscamos realmente cerrar la brecha de talento digital en América Latina. De hecho, nosotros creemos que nosotros los latinoamericanos, perdón, somos gran talento y que podemos realmente ser el mejor talento digital de todo el mundo y que podemos ir desde Latinoamérica hacia el mundo. Y nada, en Colectivo 23 tenemos varios cursos y espacios y eventos justamente para ir cerrando esa brecha. Debería pasar mi lámina, a ver, ahí estamos. Rápidamente, ¿qué hace que Colectivo sea distinto y por qué nosotros, todos los que somos de acá de Colectivo 23, nos levantamos todas las mañanas y nos sumamos a esta hermosa organización? Es porque nosotros tenemos algo que se llama el Colectivo Way o el hashtag del Colectivo Way. Nosotros realmente creemos en tener espacios colaborativos de aprendizaje. De hecho, la razón por la cual este espacio acá, y les voy a pedir los que puedan, prenden su cámara, a mí me encanta, yo estoy mirando sus caras y también mirando el chat. Creo que no hay nada más lindo en realidad en aprender en grupo, en comunidad, conocernos, y que el aprendizaje realmente puede ser colaborativo y comunitario. De hecho, otras cosas es que nosotros no dejamos tareas en Colectivo 23, no creemos en las tareas para los profesionales porque sabemos que tienen muchísimo tiempo, no tienen muchísimo tiempo y necesitan que el tiempo sea siempre bien invertido. Lo otro es que en Colectivo nosotros buscamos a los mejores profesionales, no solamente en Latinoamérica, sino en todo el mundo, para que sean las personas que enseñan a las personas que se suman a nuestros cursos. Y lo que nosotros realmente creemos en Colectivo es que el aprendizaje tiene que ser práctico y lo tienes que poder aplicar. De hecho, nosotros siempre buscamos que desde tu primera sesión ya te lleves con algunas cosas para que ya dependa de ti si es que los aplicas en tu organización, en tu emprendimiento, en tu empresa o no. Así que, de hecho, desde que empezamos ya somos más de 6.000 profesionales que han pasado, se han subido a nuestro colectivo, como llamamos. De hecho, si es que se quedan al final, les puedo contar a los curiosos, curiosas, por qué nos llamamos Colectivo 23. Probablemente puede ser algo interesante. Algunas cosas que nosotros medimos para demostrar nuestro impacto es que nosotros nos enfocamos mucho en la satisfacción. Sabemos que las personas que se suman hoy en día en cursos, o sea, ¿quién no sabe la cantidad de cursos que hay en el mercado, cantidad de oferta, formatos distintos, etcétera? Y en Colectivo realmente hacemos el esfuerzo, quienes nos conocen, de lograr una satisfacción siempre alta a nuestros alumnos y alumnas que llamamos pasajeros y pasajeras. Lo otro es que el 50% de los pasajeros y pasajeras de Colectivo 23 cambian de trabajo post-curso, porque lo que justamente buscamos es que podamos ayudarte a impulsar tu carrera y hacer esos cambios a estos puestos digitales que están en tanta demanda. De hecho, desde que hemos empezado, incluyendo todas las clases gratuitas que hemos tenido, hemos impactado más de 15.000 pasajeros y pasajeras en toda Latinoamérica, así que poco a poco estamos armando nuestra comunidad de colectivers, como nos dicen. A ver, ¿qué vamos a ver hoy día? Lo primero es que vamos a tener un pequeño espacio, voy a pedir paciencia a los que ya han estado en colectivo, en un evento colectivo, saben que esto siempre sucede, que es que les voy a contar un poquito la logística del evento. Esto va a garantizar que este evento sea lo mejor para ustedes y que sea la mejor experiencia posible. Luego vamos a entrar de frente a conversar con Nathan, donde él nos va a hacer el caso justamente de cómo Disney lanza Disney Plus y todos los pasos que se llevaron para llegar a ese momento y ese producto. Y al final les voy a contar justamente sobre nuestra ruta que hemos hecho en colaboración con IDEO, que es donde trabaja hoy en día Nathan, que de hecho Nathan ha sido una de las personas que ha validado el contenido y que va a ser parte del jurado. Así que nada, ahí les cuento un poquito más hacia el final. Algunas reglas del juego, como ya les dije, hay una razón por la cual no hacemos webinars en Colectivo 23, nos gusta verles las caras, nos gusta interactuar, por favor usen el chat, por ahí nunca sabes a quién puedes conocer en estos chats, en el mundo profesional siempre es importante hacer networking, yo siempre digo que no hay un momento que no puedes invertir en hacer networking, conocer gente, así que usen este espacio virtual, es suyo. Y lo otro, por último, disfruten el espacio, ya están acá conectados, conectadas, van a haber algunos momentos donde les hacemos algunas preguntas en el chat. La idea es que realmente se puedan llevar valor de este espacio que vamos a compartir todos juntos, juntas y juntes. Ahora, la logística divertida. Nathan está actualmente en Japón, la charla se va a dar en inglés, pero vamos a tener interpretación 100% en vivo. De hecho, a partir de esta lámina voy a empezar a hablar en inglés para que ustedes, de hecho, puedan hacer la prueba. Básicamente en la parte inferior de su Zoom van a ver este icono que dice o en inglés Interpretation o en castellano Interpretación. Si ustedes hacen clic ahí y escogen Spanish, ahorita vamos a hacer la prueba, van a poder escuchar toda esta charla en vivo en castellano. Y acá hago solo un pequeño hincapié. El chat todavía es todo en castellano y no se preocupen si tienen preguntas para Nathan o para mí en el momento. Yo los voy traduciendo en el momento, así que siempre la interacción es en castellano, ¿ya? Entonces, ahorita, si es que me dan el thumbs up del lado de colectivo, voy a empezar a hablar en inglés, hacer la prueba. ¿Sí? Ok. So I'm going to do, Nathan, I was just
Entonces, Nathan le estaba diciendo a todos que un poco cómo funciona el evento. Vamos a hacer la prueba para ver si la interpretación en español está funcionando.
Talk a little bit as Daniela, who is our interpreter, who's always interpreting all the events of Colectivo 23, starts translating. I can see in the chat that people are saying it works amazing. Thank you. Okay, that's great. So it means that we are officially in English. Those who want to listen in English can stay here. Those who do not can go to Spanish. Nathan, I just told everyone anyway that we will continue the chat in Spanish and that any questions or things that pop up, like we discussed before, I'll be asking you things and we'll continue. But for those who are tuning in, that is not all. We're always looking how to be even more inclusive in Colectivo 23. So tonight we actually have for the first time, and we hope it works, being completely transparent, first time we're doing this, we're gonna have live subtitles as well. This is for people who have some sort of hearing disability or who just prefer to read subtitles and maybe listen to the event in English, but also read the subtitles in Spanish. So this is the second thing that we hope is gonna work tonight. This should launch automatically. However, this does not launch automatically on your Zoom. All you guys have to do is look for the button on the bottom that says CC Live Transcript. You need to pick the option of show subtitles or in Spanish, creo que es enseñar subtítulos. And with that, you guys should start having subtitles. Yeah, my internet just broke for a little bit, but I got it. So there we should start having subtitles. I'm seeing in the chat that it works, so I hope it works. Anyway, if you have any problems either with the live interpretation or the live subtitles, please just write in the chat and someone from Colectivo 23 will be helping you guys to make sure that it works. So we will begin now that we are all set to go on the logistics. Are you ready, Nathan?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So after all that, I told you guys it was boring, but it's also fun because you get to play around with Zoom. Why are we here tonight? We are here tonight to talk about Disney and the magic of creating digital products. I want to see a dot in the chat. Hold on, let me just close this so I can see how many people put a dot in the chat of how many people have Disney Plus or have used Disney Plus in the past months. See lots of dots in the chat. I think Disney Plus has begun to be used in Latin America a lot more since last year. And I think there's a lot of us who are really big fans. As you guys heard, we were listening to Encanto in the morning. So anyway, so we are here tonight to talk to Nathan. We're here to talk about how his time at Disney was an amazing experience, to see how eventually Disney Plus was created. So I'm sure you guys are gonna have a lot of fun. So I'm first gonna do the boring, not boring, but like the typical, intro of who is here with us. And then Nathan, I'm gonna ask you a fun question so we can get to the more fun part. So tonight we have Nathan Paterson. I actually didn't ask you if it's Paterson or Paterson. Paterson. Yeah, there you go. So tonight we have Nathan Paterson. He's currently a director at IDEO. He is currently in Tokyo, which means that it is 9:20 in the morning for you?
Yes, on Friday, that's right.
There you go, 9:20 in the morning on a Friday. Nathan is here with us in Latin America, the beauty of digital. So he is currently a director at IDEO. He lives in Tokyo, and he is working on their the learning programs in IDEO. He previously was leading a team of investigation in Disney, in the Disney Interactive Labs, and that's what he's going to tell us about today. And he's also founded a design studio in Tokyo and a startup. I actually didn't know that about you, Nathan. I think at a different point, we're going to talk more and you can tell us about that. So Nathan, I'm extremely happy to have you here today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just so that we can see you nice and large. And Nathan, I was going to ask you, tell us something else about you that not a lot of people know. I know that it's quite a big audience right now. We're 400 people connected. Tell us something that people don't know about you, sort of kind of to break the ice. And I'd love to see in the chat for people to tell us some fun facts about themselves as well. And I can tell a fun fact.
Do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I can go first. So okay. A fun fact about myself that I always tell is that I have 2 dogs. I have 2 cats. I'm a typical millennial. I think studies basically describe my life, millennial studies. And I live in an apartment, which is crazy. It's something I do not recommend, but I'm still happy. So yeah, that's my fun fact. 2 dogs, 2 cats in an apartment. Large dogs, not small dogs, large dogs.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
We don't get a lot of large dogs in Tokyo these days, but good to hear. Fun fact about myself. When I was 6 years old, I was in a TV commercial in New Zealand, and I think it aired in Australia as well, for a food that some of you may know. It's called Vegemite. For those who do know it, I think you either love it or you hate it. That did not lead to a childhood acting career, but that was my one moment on TV, which was kind of a fun experience. But yeah, not everyone knows that about me. And this was pre-YouTube, so I don't think the commercial exists anywhere.
I was going to say, is there some sort of evidence, some sort of picture that,
I don't think so.
The next time we can put, and say here's Nathan.
I got paid $200. I was pretty stoked about that. That was the first big money I ever made. And so I guess my bank account proves that I did the work.
Wow. I had an Australian roommate when I was at university, and she would eat, I think, Vegemite, and the other one Marmite. Yes. Did I make that up? And it was like a whole discussion in our household if it was good or bad.
Very polarizing, that's for sure.
Very polarizing. Yeah. Okay, so Nathan, as you start sharing your screen, I'm just going to go ahead and ask people to put a dot in the chat if you guys have ever tried Vegemite or Marmite, to see how many people who are connected now have tried. Jenny's asking, como Vegemite and Marmite is it's like a spread, as if it were a jam. It has a very particular taste. Yeah, I think that's as far as I can go. I don't even know what it's made out of. I have no idea.
I believe Vegemite is vegetable extract and Marmite is beef extract. That's how they differ, but the taste is pretty similar, and it's very strong. It's a very strong taste and smell. So that's the polarizing effect.
And you eat it on toast, right?
You can eat it on toast. Yeah, that's the best way to have it. Although the fans of it will go and just put a spoon in there and eat it straight. So if you're brave enough.
So Nathan, I guess what we know from you now is that you have an actor inside of you, and we can hire you for Colectivo 23 commercials. Thank you so much.
No, I think what we're saying is that didn't work out. There was just the one time, but it's fun to look back at it.
No casting needed, says Christian. Okay. Well, Nathan, I'm going to let you go ahead and tell us the story that you have today for us. We'll be monitoring the chat, and I leave you the stage in a way.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming today. This is really exciting. And thank you to the Colectivo 23 team for having me today. So let's get started. I joined Disney starting in Japan back in 2008. And my first role was a manager of creative and content development. This is around the time, a few years after Bob Iger had become the CEO, and he was really making changes at the Walt Disney Company. He had refriended Pixar through his relationship with Steve Jobs, and Pixar was making hit after hit after hit. And Disney was really growing in popularity again. In Japan, it was a very unique market. It was, globally, generally, Disney is a very family-oriented brand. And that's the same in Japan as well, but also a lot of inside Disney, we would call them young adult females, were also huge fans of Disney. And these are also young women professionals, often, maybe with family or not, and they have disposable incomes and they want to spend it on beautiful, cute Disney stuff. And so it was a really unique starting point, which differed from my early experiences with Disney. As a kid growing up in New Zealand, I was all about the cartoons and Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. But in Japan, it was a very different experience. So that was a great way to start. This was Disney.jp at the time, and our role as creative directors inside of Disney in Japan was to oversee all of the websites across Asia Pacific, as well as digital content, digital media, and starting to get into digital media distribution, primarily through the internet. And so obviously the website was all short form content, just trailers and clips and games primarily, and also ways to access lots and lots of information across the different Disney brands. And this was the portal for a lot of people. So it was a growing touch point for the company at that time. And so we started to put more emphasis on the websites across Asia Pacific and around the world. I was a designer by trade, and so I was doing a lot of really pixel heavy stuff. I was in the details, making sure that everything was exactly to spec, and working with external designers and developers to create the websites and to bring them to life. And then also in Japan, again, speaking to that young adult female audience, we had a really booming business called Disney Mobile. And it started with mobile content, but then moved into hardware as well, partnering with the likes of Sharp and Toshiba and others to create hardware, create smartphones, working with Android to create smartphone OS experiences, which are all tailored Disney, as well as apps and content, all tailored Disney. So if you were a big fan, you could Disney your whole mobile experience. And around this time also, Disney acquired Marvel. And so we saw that Disney was expanding beyond families and women, and also into a boy and a male audience as well. And so this was exciting. As part of Disney Mobile, we were also developing a lot of style guides for not only the phones and the content and the web experiences, but also store experiences to help get the word out about our new phones, as well as the content and the OS. And our style guides would carry through from digital experiences to retail experiences as well. Come 2011, 2012, I changed from working at Disney Japan to moving over to California and joining a new innovation group called later Disney Interactive Labs. And the way that this happened was there was an internal email to all employees, and right down the bottom there was a little note saying we're opening a new group in California called Disney Interactive Group, and is anybody interested? I went and checked the website to see what was going on, what projects they were going to be working on, who they were looking for. They weren't actually looking for what I was looking to do, but I wrote to them anyway, just because I was really curious about this new innovation group inside the Walt Disney Company at headquarters. And we got to talking, and a year later, I was moving to California and was joining this very small but starting to grow innovation team. And it was a really exciting moment in my career. Around that time, Disney also acquired Lucasfilm. So now you had all the Disney stuff, all the Pixar stuff, all the Marvel stuff, and all the Lucasfilm stuff. I mean, this was epic. You had so many different characters, millions of characters and stories and worlds that you could dive into. And this was just, it was a playground for content. So this is what the company looked like in 2012, at that time when I joined the interactive group. They had media networks, parks and resorts, studio entertainment, consumer products, and interactive media. And these were five segments, all doing very well. But when you look at the revenue across those five groups at the time, they're not all the same size. So media networks, this is ABC, this is ESPN, massive, like a behemoth business. Parks and resorts, also huge. This is all of the parks, the resorts, the hotels, the restaurants all around the world, cruise lines. Studio entertainment, also big. Consumer products, also big. Interactive media, not so big. So this is a time where everything on the web was primarily, as I mentioned, short form. And so it was all supported by advertising. And there wasn't a big revenue at the time. But there was definitely a growing interest in all of our guests connecting with Disney around the world through interactive media. And so things were about to change. So this is what Disney.com in the US looked like at the time. It was a full Flash website, which was great for the first 10 years of Disney.com. It was great for playing video. It was great for having animation. We had animated characters walking across the screen sometimes. You could do a lot with Flash at that time, but it was all restricted to desktop. So you could only create desktop experiences. It was very challenging to create a compelling mobile experience, and all of our consumers were moving to mobile devices. And so this full Flash platform was no longer serving the way it had so well for 10 years. So we had some challenges for Disney.com. We had an aging platform, which was full Flash. We had changing consumer behaviors. They were shifting to mobile devices, tablets, and desktop, but less so. And we had evolving expectations inside the organization as well. Every business knew that their consumers were looking for mobile experiences, internet-enabled experiences, and they couldn't all build them. Not every business unit had an interactive media team. And so this was the first challenge that the interactive media group, innovation group tackled, was to rethink and redesign Disney.com. For that, we realized that one of our big challenges was that the organization had developed around the platform. So we had a lot of people who worked on the full Flash Disney.com platform, and they had come to organize themselves around what that could be and what that could do. And so we had a lot of people in production roles, and they were working with external vendors to create the website experiences, but not doing as much inside the company. So we rethought the entire Disney.com platform. We built a core data graph so that we could have all digital assets and metadata all connected all in one graph. We built a custom CMS so that we could do and manage the kinds of sites and mobile experiences that we needed for our consumers. And we built a responsive UI so that it could handle any device or any screen that people wanted to access Disney through. And to build this, we created a new internal product development team. So everything was done in-house. About half the team were from different parts of Disney, like myself, and others were coming from outside with new skills that Disney needed, like digital product managers and engineers and all new kinds of roles. We were housed in a new space, which was actually at the time a secret location by Burbank Airport. The wonderful team built this space particularly for this team to create the new Disney.com platform and experience. It was built inside a soundstage, so they could kind of do whatever they wanted. They didn't have the same fire regulations as a regular office or studio. And so they built a war room in the center where we had our daily stand-ups. Around the outside, it was constructed kind of like you were inside Disneyland or inside the Matterhorn ride, which was one of the first very popular rides at Disneyland. There was even a part of the space that was actually a replica of the inside of the Matterhorn mountain at Disneyland. There was a replica of Walt Disney's desk right by the entrance. And so as you walked in, you looked to your right and you could see Walt Disney's desk as it was when he was working. And it reminded you of your founder and why we were all here. And we had pictures, like larger than life pictures of Walt Disney around the time of Disneyland and Disney Parks itself. And so this was the first product that we launched. It was called Disney Video, or video.disney.com. We started with video because taking on the whole Disney.com was just too much. We wanted to start with an MVP approach, and we started with video first. I think this is one of the first responsive video websites on the internet, which was an exciting milestone for Disney and for responsive web design. And then we scaled it out to support other parts of the business, like Disney Junior, Disney Channel, going beyond to other businesses like StarWars.com and also the international sites like this one in France. We developed a custom typeface. Obviously, a typeface is a very important part of the identity of a highly visual media like what's happening on the web or on mobile devices. The website, the typeface is called Matterhorn after the ride, and we developed that specifically for the website, but to be used across all digital media moving forward. We even snuck in some Easter eggs. So inside of the code of Disney.com, we snuck in a quote from Walt Disney. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps us leading us down new paths. We also had an Easter egg where if you typed in the search bar Mickey Mouse, it started to chime MICKEYMOUSE. And so it was really fun to not only build a website, but be thinking about this as a new platform and new ways of working. And so when we had engineers right there next to the designers, we could do those kinds of things. And that made it so much more fun and dynamic. And so there were these major shifts happening. This wasn't just redesigning a website. This wasn't giving a new coat of paint to Disney.com. This was rethinking how we work, rethinking the organization from the inside out. And so we were shifting from a fixed legacy platform, which had done really well during the early days of Disney.com, to a more flexible, scalable system. We were shifted from working with external vendors to doing things in-house, and that was a really big step. We shifted from a specialized workforce of primarily producers who were working with those external vendors to multidisciplinary teams in-house, designers, developers, engineers, hardware engineers, software engineers, project managers, all in-house. We went from business units being siloed to business units being integrated. And if a business unit wanted a presence on the website or in the digital media space, then they could work together with our team and develop their aspects of the experience. And we shifted from a culture of producers to a culture of creators. Whether you're a designer, an animator, an illustrator, or an engineer, you are now a creator. And that was a real cultural shift. And so after this Disney.com project, we shifted from that building that I shared earlier into the headquarters next to Imagineering and with the other teams so that we could be more integrated with the rest of the organization. And we had all these new roles. We had product managers, design researchers, data scientists, interaction designers, communication designers, engineers, and of course, storytellers. We did a lot of experimentation around this time. We worked with other tech companies and media companies and developed new kinds of Disney and character experiences see what works, what resonates in terms of interactive media. What kinds of platforms, what kinds of experiences could we create with all of the characters and stories that we had? We created a mobile app all around Mickey Mouse video. There were new cartoons coming out with this new style of Mickey Mouse that I love. And there was an archive of wonderful animation from the 1930s as well. And so we extended the Disney.com platform not only to support web, but also to support iOS and Android, and created this Mickey Mouse video app. And then we went on to extend video even further, and we built a streaming media platform called Disney Life. This started in the UK. And then expanded into other parts of Europe as well. And this was the beginning of prototyping streaming media for the Walt Disney Company. We were doing it in various pockets of the company, and this was one of them that was built by the innovation group together with other parts of the organization. And so Disney Life was this, the first time that all of Disney's different digital media could be found in one place. This was full-length movies, this was full-length music videos, this was interactive games and books and audiobooks, all kinds of digital media all in one service. And I think this was the first time that this was being done. We started by creating a very extensive experience map, the customer journey from pre-engagement to engaging with the service to post-engagement and hopefully re-engagement to close the loop. And this gave the whole team, whether you were on the design team, engineering, working on strategy, an understanding of the consumer lens and the consumer experience across the service. We also looked at all of the media that we were going to be putting on there. We were looking for clues as to what ties it all together. When you have so many content types and so many characters and stories, how do you tie it all together? And we sat and watched movies. We went to Disneyland. We looked for those common threads. And what we realized was everything has this sort of atmosphere. And like going to Disneyland, Disneyland is about walking into the atmosphere of these worlds, whether it's Fantasyland or something more particular about a particular movie or story or character. It's all about being inside the atmosphere. And so we expanded on that, and we developed prototypes as to what it would be like to walk into the atmosphere in a digital experience. So the idea here is that you're browsing videos, but you're in the up space. And so we wanted it to feel like you're in the up world and you're almost in the basket or in the house with Carl, with the characters, and you're over the city, town, and you're up in the clouds. Or we also went to different parts of the company to see how are we tailoring experiences for our guests. A big part of streaming media services is the personalization that you are able to add. And so if it's your birthday and you're going to Disneyland, you'll get a badge with your name on it. And that point forward, everyone is going to wish you a happy birthday by name. And the same goes if you are going to, say, Disney World with the magic bands. You let them know what color you'd like, you let them know how you'd like your name on it, and then that is personalized for you and your family members and sent to your house before your holiday. And we wanted to bring some of that personalization into digital experiences as well. So if you are Elizabeth and you open up your iPad and you open up Disney Life and it's your birthday, we can personalize that for you. We know that your favorite character is Elsa. We know that today's your birthday, and we can wish you a happy birthday from the service. And then it moves on to, say, Sleeping Beauty, and you feel like you're in the world of the movie. And so these were some early prototypes that we developed to try and create that Disney magic in a digital experience. We also looked at, again, making sure that this was responsive across all kinds of devices. We even prototyped Apple Watch experiences, so a parent could maybe control the volume from across the room and things like that, or you could play Disney music from your devices. We even looked at maybe future experiences like AR or VR and what that might look like as well. And so those were all prototypes for Disney Life, which I mentioned was launched in the UK and then scaled in different parts of Europe. And some of these prototypes made their way into what is now known as Disney Plus. This was another streaming media experience created within the Walt Disney Company, and now it's scaling globally. And it's scaling very well. We see that it's reaching, I think the number's even larger than this now, 118, 120 million subscribers globally. Great to hear that it's popular in Peru as well. I love this photo. It looks like, this is Bob Chapek, the CEO of Disney, and Emma Stone, the Hollywood actress. It kind of looks like they're a couple on the red carpet. They're not, I believe, but yeah, it's doing extremely well globally. And when you think about it, it just makes sense for Disney to go direct to consumer, to be able to personalize the digital experience for guests, and for that to go around the world. Disney's subscribers are even creeping up towards Netflix, which is exciting. I think for Netflix as well, they were the only player in the space for a long time, and now they have a reason to innovate themselves as well. And even in places like India, where the big ticket item is cricket, and so when cricket was streamed on Disney Plus, that was a huge boom for Disney in India. So as I mentioned earlier, the Walt Disney Company looked like this in 2012, and we started by developing the Disney.com platform and went on to develop other interactive experiences and streaming media experiences. And through that, not only because of that, but partly through that, the company reorganized. And in 2018, it looked like this: Media Network, still there, Parks, Experiences and Products, Studio Entertainment, and a new group called Direct to Consumer and International. And the key here is the direct to consumer part. And suddenly, Disney can work directly with consumers and understand through data, through interactive experiences, through real-time, what consumers need, what consumers want, and design experiences tailored for them. And from a revenue perspective, it also looks a whole lot better than the earlier days of web advertising. Direct-to-consumer and international soon became a huge revenue driver for the Walt Disney Company. And just a couple more slides to go. And this one's taking a moment to load. Direct-to-consumer and international was all about this. It was about aligning technology, content, and distribution platforms to expand the company's global footprint and deliver world-class personalized entertainment experiences to consumers around the world. So this is a really exciting shift. And Bob Iger, the CEO at the time, now the chairman, said it's in our best interest to put some of the old rules aside, create new ones, and follow the consumer, what the consumer wants and where the consumer wants to go. And I think what was happening at the same time was a real shift towards genuinely wanting to understand the consumer better, the guest, and create what they want, create what they need, understand them and understand their needs, and then design for that. And so it took 6 months for us to build that first Disney.com Disney video experience. But over time, it took 6 years for the organization to change. So the organizational change can happen. It takes time. You need to be patient. But it can be some of these digital products that help start some of that change. And I think it's through ways of working, new kinds of roles, new kinds of focus areas, and that focus on the guest, the guest experience, or the user, or a human-centered approach, which is a big shift for many organizations. Walt Disney said it. He said, Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world. Organizational change also will continue to happen. It's a part of the way we live today. But so long as we're thinking about the user, and so long as we're imagining new possibilities, then we'll continue to grow. So now I work at IDEO. I left Disney around 2017. And as Christina mentioned, I'm based in our Tokyo studio. I've been there for almost 5 years now. And our purpose in the world is to create positive impact through design. And so some of the things that we do, we started as a product company back in Silicon Valley over 40 years ago, and we still develop physical products, but we also create digital products, in-flight experiences for families, schools in Peru and South America, digital devices that enable commuters around San Francisco to swipe their jacket to skip to the next song as they're riding their bike, future kitchen concepts with IKEA, the future of mobility with companies such as Ford, and future of the sky with JAXA, which is the space organization here in Japan. So a real range of experiences that we create, from digital to physical to product, service, experience, and even organizational design. For example, we created a commuter experience, mobile experience with JR East, one of the largest railway companies in the world. They have a lot of businesses, but we wanted to simplify and just take it down to the bare minimum. What do people really want from a JR app? And it's just, how do I get from this station to that station? How do I get from A to B? So we created a new kind of experience called Go by Train. And we launched it into the market as a prototype with a new team inside of JR East. Actually, it started as one very keen person who realized the company needed to digitize. And he now has a team around him. He's learning, he's hiring designers and engineers. They've launched this app as their official app for commuters. We're starting to see not only through the product do you create a new kind of experience, but you change the way the organization is structured and the kinds of roles that people have. And he's now the VP, I think, of innovation. I'm not sure, but he has a growing team. Or how design is driving forward to reimagine what a car company can be. It used to be a car company. Now it's a mobility company, and that can mean lots and lots of things. This Ford pickup truck is fully electric, and in the back you can connect your devices, your tools, it can be a mobile working station. It's not just a pickup truck anymore, it's your mobile workstation. They also developed a network of innovation labs around the world in Detroit and in Melbourne and London, and working together with IDEO, they're creating new kinds of experiences in mobility, and they're also creating new ways of working as a company. Thirdly, in Peru and Latam, we're working closely with Intercorp to transform the organization across their many businesses, starting with the leaders. And we have a lab in Peru, in Lima, called La Victoria Lab. And it's Intercorp designers and engineers and IDEO designers working together with Intercorp leaders to transform the products and the services they create for their customers and the organizations as well. So some takeaways that I'd like to share as you're either thinking about upskilling or reskilling or becoming or deepening your skills as a digital product designer. Number one for me is be the voice of your guests. When you're inside the company, everyone's thinking of lots of different things. I think it's important as product designers to be thinking about our guests all the time. They can't always be there to say, this is what I want, this is what I need, but we can be there on their behalf. At the same time, we also need to build empathy for all of our stakeholders. There's a reason why legal or finance or HR or compliance are saying the things they're saying. They're not just saying things to try and stop you from designing the guest experience you want. They're coming from a good place. And so building empathy for all of our stakeholders inside of an organization is really, really crucial. Number two, be optimistic. I think sometimes it can be disheartening when a product gets canceled or we change direction or someone says, yes, I understand the guest need, but for a business purpose or a legal purpose or a compliance purpose, we cannot, or something like that. Be optimistic that we can make a positive impact for our guests and our consumers. We just need to be the optimistic force inside of the organization. And then number three, is kind of mentioned in number one as well, is to collaborate. This is a very collaborative endeavor. We need to work closely with other designers, engineers, business people, salespeople, marketing teams. There's a lot happening in big organizations, and we need to work across business units and across teams. That is how we're going to design the best experience. It's not only about the UI, it's about all of the moving parts that come together to create great guest experiences. And so being optimistic and being collaborative with our partners, with our stakeholders, will make sure that we design and launch amazing guest experiences out into the world. So I'll stop there. That was a lot, but I'll stop sharing as well. And I think we're going to open it up. Is that right, Christina?
Yes. So Nathan, I just wanted to thank you for that. I had heard this presentation before the other day, but hearing it today again, and I have some questions from actually the chat, but I think it's amazing. I mean, I'm a user of Disney Plus. In the chat, someone said, hey, we should like give codes so people can try Disney Plus for free. I don't know if we can do that. But as a consumer of Disney Plus and as a consumer in general of like many digital products, I think that we don't notice how many sort of iterations go by and how these products are not just like created out of thin air, but rather there's an entire journey, process, team, organizations, business decisions, etc., that kind of make that. And that was like a huge takeaway. That I just had right now. I was like, yeah, like, sorry, it disconnected. It's my Wi-Fi. My team laughs because this happens always, but not in events. I don't know what's happening tonight. And also I think the collaboration. So like I think one of the big things, I'd love for people to put a dot in the chat if you guys are designers, UX designers, service designers, product designers, because sometimes we think as designers that we like work in a silo, right? Like but just listening to you and understanding all the decisions that had to happen for Disney Plus to eventually exist, I think it's what you said, is collaboration and legal and marketing and all different parts of the company are very important. So I just have two questions for you because we're out of time, but Nathan, because I have you on Slack, is it okay if I send you other questions that people put, because I think they're really interesting, and we can just send them asynchronously via email, and that way we can answer, because there are like 4 or 5 questions I think were really good. Well, one of the questions I wanted to ask you, which I think is really relevant, is someone at the beginning asked, how did you guys extract the insights and sort of like the consumer information that you needed in order to sort of keep iterating all these versions of Disney.com and Disney Life and Disney Plus, et cetera? Like what were those insights and how did you guys, like, was there a team dedicated to this, or how did it work?
So at Disney, it started primarily with more traditional market research and also business intelligence. And Disney had or has teams focused on those areas. And so we could work with market research to understand trends and behaviors and patterns that they were seeing. And business intelligence could give us data in terms of what kinds of social media patterns we were seeing around the Disney brand, and how did that maybe differ across different regions or countries. So those were great allies and collaborators to learn from past patterns. But we also wanted to learn what of these new prototypes resonates with people. So we did a lot of user testing as well. And so, or usability testing, I should call it. I always need to correct myself. We're not testing the user, we're testing our product. And so we would bring people into our lab and show them prototypes, and they would give us feedback of what they thought, or and so we did a lot of sort of real-time testing that way. And as the product went into market, we could also do A/B testing. So we're curious about these new features. Let's A/B test against our current product to see what is working and what's not. And so it becomes a constant process of iteration. All of this was very new. And so we didn't have it figured out at the beginning. We did have to hire some new people, design strategists, researchers, user experience designers, who could help us focus on those kinds of testing loops. But it became really a critical part of product development. And I think everyone here will find that it's a really crucial part. At IDEO, we also take a step further back, and our practice of design research at IDEO is very much before there's even a prototype, or maybe there's a very early prototype, which we call a sacrificial concept. But this is really not going to make it into market. This is just to give people something to give feedback about. And so you can go all the way back to before you even have a product. What do people think? What do people need? What are the latent or unmet needs that they may not know how to articulate, but it's important for us to find out. And those become the insights to inspire design. So IDEO has been a really great place for me to learn even further back before anything exists. How do you find out what people really need, even before they know how to articulate it?
That makes sense. And I think it also has to do with, especially large companies being able to be more efficient in their choices, right? Because as you try earlier on and you make sure that those prototypes get the feedback that they need, you avoid large launches that maybe like weren't really fitting the market. So we're almost on the hour. So I have one more question for you, Nathan, which is, we've talked a lot about product design, digital product design. You've mentioned it throughout your presentation. So I know there are people in the audience who don't necessarily know what this is, what it means, but also why it's important, and why it's important for different professionals to also have the skills of product designers within a company. So I don't know if you can tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll start finishing up. I know it's almost 8.
The product design skill sets, even if you're not a product designer.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are tools in a designer's toolkit that are really great for seeing the world in different ways. Some of the industrial or product designers at IDEO blow my mind the way that they will look at a cup very differently than anybody else does. And so those ways of seeing the world, which I think are very curiosity driven, they're really handy no matter what your role is. And so if you're in an internal team, say HR, it's really important to understand your user, and that might be all of the employees of your organization. And so there can be skills from, say, design research that can help you to understand their needs better by being curious about their current experience and what could be better about that. And then all through the design process, there are lots of different skills, prototyping and rapid prototyping, rapid feedback loops. That's another thing that you don't have to be a designer to make good use of. As you mentioned, that reduces the barrier to getting started, and you can start much more quickly and early and cheaply if you start with just a rapid prototype. And that can be done in any role at an organization. We encourage it to be so. You can be in legal, and you can be in finance, and you can still prototype things, which isn't necessarily the way that especially large organizations used to work, especially in the 20th century. They might decide, okay, we're going to try that, and we're going to invest 1 year or 2 years or 3 years and a lot of money and a lot of resources into this idea before they've even tested it. To your point, that's not necessarily the only way to go about it. And so there are skill sets in the designer's toolkit that I think are useful for many people in large organizations. Yeah.
You know, you made me, as I share my screen, you made me remember we once had a passenger in Colectivo. He was a financial analyst. He wanted to pivot to innovation. He actually did. He ended up going into an innovation lab. And he used prototyping on his financial models. So he would prototype what financial models people understood better, and like how people interpreted like the models that he was creating. And he would literally do user testing and be like, do you understand it better here and there? And so I just remembered that as you were saying it.
That's so cool. That's exactly it.
I love it when I remember these passenger stories. As Colectivo has grown, I start losing track of them, but yeah, it's always nice to hear stories of students from the past. So very quickly, because we're on the hour, and Nathan, I will be sending you the questions, because there are some questions about how you guys did testing and competition and things that I think are interesting and that we can send through email. But I did want to tell everyone who's connected about our collaboration that we actually launched with IDEO around 2 weeks ago. So Nathan is actually part of the team on IDEO who's been working with us for now, I think, 6 months almost. It's been quite a journey together. Nathan has been reviewing the content of the course and the Ruta, and he will actually be part of the jury of this course who gives feedback to the passengers who are students as they create their reviews. So basically, we have launched this course. It's called Digital Product Design. It begins, I believe, end of February, the very last day of February, the 28th. It's a 4-month course. And like everything we do in Colectivo, for those who are new, it's 100% online, it's live, it's interactive. We look for it to be as dynamic and interactive as possible with sessions, smaller sessions with groups so that you guys can really interact and get your hands dirty, basically, and really create great prototypes that you're going to receive feedback on. Very quickly, digital product designers, we were looking at statistics. Currently on LinkedIn, there are almost 4,000 positions that are open of different companies all through Latin America who are looking for product designers. It's one of those new roles that have begun to exist. I say new because maybe new in Latin America, but I saw, Nathan, on your slide that in Disney, they were hiring these new roles long before. But it's one of these roles that even in Colectivo, as we're talking to different companies and large startups, it's one of these roles that are beginning to become more in demand. Like I mentioned, the entire course is done the Colectivo way, which means that we learn, we do, we share, and we reflect. I'm a real believer that it's not enough just to receive content. It's one of the things that I think really makes education rich, which is where you have to share your opinion or share your work, but also you have to reflect on what you've learned and how you can apply it. No one's going to give you a pill, exactly what you need in order to apply it to your job. Everything has to do with how you reflect with what you're learning and applying it to what you need in your organization. And we help you through that. Very quickly, this is the lineup of inspiration shots and jury from IDEO. We're extremely happy to have an amazing team here. As you can see, Nathan is there. He'll be part of the jury. We also have Momo, who's head of digital design in IKEA. And in the ebook that I think we'll be sending, you guys can see like a quick bio of every person who will be part of this team. And in Colectivo, one of the things that we talk a lot about is something we call global learnings. So we believe that especially in Latin America, it's very important to have regional and local experience because what is global, what is large, we have to use as inspiration, and what is local and what is regional usually helps us for the day-to-day so that we can really get things like on track. So this is an amazing lineup of practitioners from all over Latin America. There are people who have been working with us in Colectivo for quite some time, our best NPSs, and I'm 100% sure you guys are going to have an amazing time with each and every one of them. So these are our practitioners. For those who don't know, the practitioner is the person who's with you day to day in each module and teaching you and walking you through the activities and making sure that everything is working according to plan. So that is it. It was amazing spending this time with you. My team will kill me if we do not take a picture. So this is why we use this format as well, because we love seeing faces. So everyone who's connected, if you want to turn on your camera, I'd love to see you guys. I can see Aliyah there, who's with someone. I love it when two people like go into the same Zoom and like watch the event together. That's always fun. So everyone who can turn on their camera, and when my team says yes, we'll smile, and then we're going to have a very awkward moment where we're going to smile for like 5 or 6 minutes, 7 seconds. Sorry, not minutes. People will kill me if it's minutes. So I'm going to count 3, 2, 1, and we can smile. Isabel, I see you're already smiling. Isabel Norteo, I can see you. You're excited, and we will smile. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. I hope someone's taking screenshots. Let me know. Yes. Okay. Wonderful. There's quite a lot of faces here. I can see David, Edith, Regina. I see Christian from Colectivos doing a Insta story, probably. there for his Instagram. Okay, you can let me know when we're ready. I actually just saw, this is a fun fact, I just saw Ale, who's my wife, who's across the table from me. I didn't know she was connected, so I just found that out. Hi, Ale. Thank you for being in the event with us. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. It was wonderful spending this evening with you guys. Nathan, I will send you those questions because they're really good questions. Thank you for this inspiring evening, and thank you to Daniela, who's been translating live this entire time. Yes, and also thank you to the guys that I don't know what their names are, but I know they're connected, who have been transcribing the entire time. So thank you guys so much. I know it's a lot of work and we really appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to turn music back on and we can say goodbye. Another awkward moment until I play music.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Nathan. Have an amazing day. I know it's Friday for you.